So today I want to talk about film distribution, specifically through the YouTube platform. I might reference some other platforms, but YouTube is how I distribute my films and how to do it successfully. I think one thing that a lot of filmmakers struggle with is they work on a film for multiple years and then they post it and it only gets a few hundred views or 1,000 views, and they don't really know how to get it out further. And I've kind of been on both sides of the coin. I've had films that do really, really well, and then I've had films that have done not so well. And I think, in terms of what happens with those films and how they end up getting to an audience or not, is dependent on a few things, and it's dependent on you, the filmmaker. Usually, I kind of break them down into a few different categories of film distribution. First, I like to reference topic, like what is the film about? And then knowing, like, is there a ceiling to that film in terms of how many views you're expecting to get on it? Like, when I made my film Pure Cinema, like, I knew that it was going to have a limited audience. I never thought 4,000 people would watch that movie. I was like, oh, this might get a few hundred views. But 4,000 people have checked it out. It's really crazy to see that, like, a topic as niche and obscure as that can get a decent amount of audience to watch it. You just never know what you're going to do in order to get that audience there. But overall, being realistic with each niche is important. I know that, like, a found footage movie, I have a better chance at distributing it and it getting over 10,000 views than, like, an obscure romance film or, a comedy film, So, like, picking a lane and knowing what lane works is important. Crime does well. Horror does well. Romance, sometimes, depending on the type of romance, does well. Those are genres that are, kind of like, they're universal and they're kind of bulletproof. In terms of, if you make something in those genres, you have a better chance at getting people interested because people are inherently drawn to violence, scary stuff, romantic stuff. It's just science, like, people are interested in that. And that's not to say you can't make other films. I've made drama films. I've made, comedies. I've made, all sorts of movies. And I don't think that I would stop making those other ones just because. But if I'm being honest with myself, if I'm trying to distribute a film to get it as far as possible, I'm hitting one of those three categories usually. The second part is putting it up and getting on the channel. What is the release strategy? So for me, I've done a couple different things. I've done feature films where I just hot drop them. I've done feature films where I do months of promotion. I've done feature films where I do limited promotion and then drop it a week later. And I'll give you my results on all three. So the hot drop method has been the least successful overall in terms of, like, getting stuff out there. Because usually, if there's no promotion behind it, it's going to get less views. However, two of my most successful movies were done with the hot drop method. One Shot and Split Screen. One Shot's got like 12,000 views, and Split Screen has like almost 40,000 views. And there was no trailer for that. There was literally just a poster, and there was like an announcement, tweet or something like that, and then those films blew up. So the hot drop method, I think, can work if you have a really exciting idea. If it's something that's really captivating or engaging just on its own merit, the hot drop method is great. I think for films that are more, emotions based, or they're more obscure, I would not do the hot drop method. I've tested it out this year to less success. And I did have one film in the time that it takes get a few thousand views, which was nice. And honestly, some films I think deserve the hot drop method because you're just like, hey, I didn't put a lot of time into this. I don't want to do a 2-month campaign around this one movie. So whatever works for you, that's what I would say you should do in that case. The second method I tried was the post a trailer, post the film the next week. I did this on my film Watch Me As I Go. And this actually worked pretty well. I think the trailer a week before, film the week after is kind of a nice combo. It keeps it so that you are getting people hyped for it, but you're not burning yourself out with a lot of promotion. And I that film ended up doing 6,000 views, which is pretty good. It's a obscure romantic film that is kind of slow and artsy. So I don't think I could ask for any more on that specific project. And the last method is the sort of the long haul, the promote, get everyone hyped. I did this on Chlorine. I did this on my film The Long Con. I did this on my film Ramen Sucker Punch. All three did pretty great. Overall, this method is definitely the most successful. And usually it's followed up with videos after the movie comes out. So Chlorine, I did 30, 40 videos after it came out and kept, pushing it. Long Con, not as many, and Ramen Sucker Punch, I did a few as well. And I feel like this is probably the most successful method, but it's also the most time-consuming, and if you make a lot of projects, it can be hard to balance doing this for multiple films. So if I were you, I would not do this for a project that you're hey, I'm not super invested in this. I shot this in a week and I'm posting it. Don't do that. If you're a film you've worked on 2-3 years, do that because it's probably going to help you out. It's what I'm doing for my film Chlorine Kills. I'm going to be slowly building to the release of it. And I'm excited to see what people think about it. So hopefully that film takes off. We'll see. We don't have the numbers yet. But maybe we'll timestamp this and then look a year from now and see did Chlorine Kills benefit from all the promotional run I'm going to do for that film. So that's kind of the distribution side of it in terms of getting it on YouTube, how to do it. The last things I would say in order to distribute your film and make sure it's done well, make sure it's got a good poster, make sure you hit all the social media platforms, IMDb, Letterboxd, if you can get them up there, great. I'm not a huge fan of IMDb, so I just use Letterboxd, but Letterboxd has been taking my stuff down recently, so, whatever. I'd say, try to get it to as many platforms as possible, generate as much discussion as possible, and then the last sort of prong of this is in word, in person, mouth of word. You need to get it out to people who are in your personal circle because those are going to be the people who will push it first. If you can convince, 100 of your friends or 50 of your friends or 25 of your friends to go and share your film immediately upon launch, you're definitely going to increase your chances of that film getting boosted. So if you can get people in your personal circle to review it, share it, comment on it, care about it, that's definitely going to help. And then the last thing I'd say is sometimes the algorithm is just a different beast that we don't really understand. I tried for months to think about why did Split Screen do so well? Why did this film do so poorly? You never know. You never know. Genuinely. So if you don't have an answer as to why something isn't working, blame it on the algorithm, because ultimately the algorithm is what controls all this. And ultimately, if you can't figure out what you did wrong, you probably didn't do anything wrong. It's probably just not something that's made for the algorithm. So these are my tips for film distribution. Check out my channel, subscribe. Chlorine Kills is coming out soon. You don't want to miss it, okay? You have a good one. Bye-bye.